what else do you utilize as a moment, as a practice, as an opportunity to bring consciousness into our lives in the midst of everything else that can be happening in our lives? What do you use? The breath, if we want to shift our consciousness, is the most effective and fast mechanism at our disposal. At one point, Her Holiness Jagadguru Saima said, I think to a group of people at the time, the breath is the fastest way to shift our consciousness. And without fail, every time. And yet it's so easy to forget that in the contraction of the moment. So that's why I'm planting these seeds of how can we cultivate our beautiful state of consciousness through intentionally sowing moments of this throughout our life. And then they start to string together and the baseline of our consciousness becomes elevated. So we have the centering, we have the sacred pause, we have breathing, conscious living, cultivating, finding the peace within. Let's call it compassionate boundaries, or honoring ourselves, or cultivating our capacity to say no. Whatever that might look like for us. Especially in group settings, it can be very easy to give up our own autonomy and just do what everyone else is doing and follow it all the time. And while there's an aspect of that that is very healthy in being part of a group and the joy of that, my invitation is to attune to our own intuition, attune into our own heart, our own field, our own body, and see what is needed for me in each moment. And if there's moments where I need to say no, or to step away from the group, or to disengage with a conversation that is no longer serving or feel like it's going anywhere, to honor ourselves and to have the courage to do that. I'm not saying that's always easy, but what I am saying is that when we keep staying in a situation where we feel like we're betraying ourselves, that will only lead to more instances of that. It's like our relationship with ourselves starts to erode and we don't trust ourselves to take care of ourselves anymore. And then we start to look for external validation and external trust. So what is it with ourselves to start to trust ourselves, to start to build our internal capacity to trust that we know what we need and a willingness to say no or yes based on that? Do you want some more pie? No, that will not serve me now. I do not need that sugar anymore, right? You don't need to be rude about it. We don't need to offend in any way. We can be just very clear and very direct. This works for me, and this doesn't work for me. Do you want to come to this movie? Let's say it's a very violent movie, and violent movies can very disrupt your dreams, and it penetrates your consciousness very deeply, right? Some people have no issues with certain types of media, and other people, it impacts them for days. So let's say you're someone that it really impacts, and the whole group wants to go watch this new movie that's out. Well, maybe you could say, I enjoy that. Violent movies for me don't serve me. Would love to hear how it goes. I could see it before or after. I'll go to my own movie, right? Whatever that is. I'm just giving these kind of different examples to show kind of examples of when we get into a group. What is it to have those compassionate boundaries? What is it to honor and trust ourselves while also being connected with others? I think so often in relationships, in my experience, we can be stuck on the action. We could be stuck on the what wants to happen versus, well, what's the intent? What's the desire behind it? So let's say a friend says, let's go to this violent movie. I'm not going to say violent movie, right? Let's say, let's go to XYZ movie. Well, maybe the intent behind it is to have a shared experience together that then you can talk about, and you can use that as a connection point to go deeper. Well, if that's the intent, we could say, okay, well, violent movies are not my thing. How about we go for a walk tonight? And that can be an opportunity to connect deeper, right? So when we get connected with, well, what's the desire that's happening underneath what's going on there, we can find creative ways, sometimes even more effective ways to accomplish that. particularly when we're looking at relationships and group dynamics, there's always different ways and approaches when we get creative and we look at what's the core need that we're trying to accomplish here, the core tension, the core desire that is arising in the situation.